welcome to our webinar and thank you for joining. Today we are talking about the topic System of Systems, Jira and Polarion ALM, the interaction of Jira and Polarion in cross-tool development of complex products. This webinar is presented by us, DEMICON, and our friends from Siemens Polarion. So before we get started, just some short information. During this webinar, you have the opportunity to ask questions to the panelists here in the question box in Zoom. At the end of the webinar, we will have a Q&A session where we will address your questions. So what's in for you today? In this webinar, you will get a brief overview of the context in general and option how to handle it in the Jira world. You get a practical example of how the interaction of these tools can work, understand how to connect easily Jira and Polarion, understand the benefits of using both tools, and understand how to implement navigation from Polarion to Jira and back again. To provide these information, we have the following agenda for you today. So we start with a short introduction of the panelists, go over to System of Systems, we move to the Jira world, have a look at a possible solution of Jira and Polarion. You see, of course, the demo, and at the end, we have the mentioned Q&A session. So before we deep dive into this topic, I would like to introduce you to the panelists. From Siemens Polarion, I welcome Thorsten Stahlberg. Thorsten is Portfolio Development Executive. He uses his many years of experience to help companies improve their application lifecycle management. At Siemens, Thorsten develops strategies for companies that want to implement or extend Polarion as an ALM tool. And we have Dennis Livoch. Dennis is a pre-sales Polarion technician. He supports his customers regarding all the challenges they have in context of application cycle management. From DEMICON side, here from our company, we have Christopher Graf. Christopher is a senior consultant and operational account lead of Daimler. He has worked in the automotive industries in infrastructure and operations, connected cars, and telematics for over 10 years now. This has given him direct experience, of course, of the challenges posed by different tools, teams, and processes. What is special, he's promoting an agile mindset and DevOps practice as part of his mission. And my name is Torben Schwennesen. I'm the moderator today. I worked for over 10 years as well in the automotive industries in different departments like R&D and business innovation. In the DEMICON, I'm responsible for the business unit software development and for the accounts Daimler and Volkswagen. So some general information about the DEMICON. I do not want to talk too much about the company, but I want to explain why this topic today is really relevant for us. Since 2008 now, we have pursued our vision of making people's life easier by solving their IT problems. As a result, we are proud to have built a legacy based on deep technical knowledge, strategic thinking, combined with a people-first approach. Especially challenges of our customers in research and development departments in the automotive industry have been relevant for us since this first moment. So that's the reason why today we are able to gather with our technology portfolio like Atlassian, Polarion, or AWS to deliver needed future-proof solutions to handle the complexity, especially in R&D departments. So our mission is to empower our customers to reach the next level of product development capabilities. So let's get into the topic, which is driving us and our customers. So you, not our customers yet, but maybe soon. With the increasing scaling of different production areas, such as mechanics, electronics, as well as software, and high regulatory standards, such as ISO 26262, for example, in the automotive industry, the requirements have increased significantly. Furthermore, maximum performance, high-end transparency, end-to-end transparency, and reusability are mandatory for development systems. That means for developing companies and us as a consultancy, the competition and revolution out there in the market requires significant changes in how we have to think about product development in development tool chains. So this graphic of the Harvard Business Review is a good example how products are moving to a system of hardware, software, and data, of course, today. In former times, we just had a product, for example, a tractor. Over time, more and more software components were integrated and connected. Customer value is no longer based on the original product only. It is shifting more and more to an integrated system. So as a result, going digital in R&D will be essential to reach future innovation capabilities. To underline the importance and urgency of the situation, I have a graphic from McKinsey. It's not only complexity, it's productivity as well that is forcing us to do this. This graphic shows the expected growing complexity in software development compared to the productivity of tech leaders and automotive players. So as we can see, the industry is confronting a widening gap between software complexity and productivity levels. So as mentioned, and higher regulations will make things will definitely make things not easier. So what does it mean for companies if they want to succeed? There is definitely an increased need for software capabilities within the companies. Due to that, the relevance of scalable DevOps toolchains is becoming mandatory. And of course, the huge change in organizational thinking and people mindset is needed. At this point, I would love to hand over to Christopher. He will pick up these mentioned points and have a look at it from his perspective as a consultant.
Thank you, Tom, and welcome everyone from my side. Before we dig deeper into the Jira world, let's first have a look at the major challenges that we currently see in enterprises. Oops. So we usually have complex requirements. That means we work with many processes, many rules that we have to follow. We work with many different people and tools. But at the same time, it's really important to us that we cover the whole development process and all of our enterprise-specific use cases. We want our tools to be well integrated because this helps us to keep our data accurate and up to date, and also increases the user experience and the adoption rate. The challenge of distributed ownership is usually a cultural problem, and you usually see it when there is silo thinking between teams or departments in your company. Reporting is tough, and it usually gets tougher the bigger your company is. And it's super important to keep a holistic approach and a holistic view of reporting of all your projects and products. If we lack end-to-end traceability, we are not able to see all the dependencies that exist, and we might not see the problems that we should solve. And we all know that the later we find problems and the later we start fixing them, they get more expensive. The challenge of reusability is about solutions and reusability of them. So if your team creates a nice template or solution that other departments or teams might use as well, we should be able to reuse them easily and share it with them so they don't have to reinvent the wheel. Of course, cost is always important. We want to keep the total cost of ownership low. So that does not only include the licenses for your tools, it also includes the IT support teams, the first, second, and third level, maintenance and operations. And depending on the industry you are working in, you might have to follow regulations and compliance rules. And you very likely have to prove to auditors and others that you are revision safe. And two examples from the automotive industry are ASPICE and ISO 26262. Let's now have a look at the evolution of a typical enterprise Jira system. We usually start off very basic because your teammates and others want to use a nice tool for their project management or agile project management because they want to use Kanban or Scrum, for example. And the decision often falls to Jira, and Jira is liked because people can modify it. You can map all your business processes to workflows. You can create new custom fields when you need them. You can control who can see what with permissions and security levels. And you can also use reporting and dashboard functionality. But at one point, this might not be enough anymore. There might be additional requirements that you need to solve and that that cannot be solved by Jira alone out of the box. So this is when you start to extend Jira with marketplace apps. Example requirements might be that your managers want a more sophisticated view on all your data and the reporting. So you start to install ECBI and configure it. Or your teammates say, we need a better hierarchical view and better structure on all of those issues we work with because we can't handle it otherwise. So you can install the structure app. There are two more apps that I want to talk to you in more detail about. And the first one is requirements for Jira, short R4J. And this app integrates really nice into your Jira. And as you can see in the top left picture, it lets you organize your requirements in a tree hierarchy. Another benefit is that it actually enables end-to-end traceability for you. So from the specification of your requirements to the release of your product increment, you can see all your dependencies, and you are also able to see the red flags that you should address and reprioritize or escalate. With revision tracking, you are able to compare the issues you have or the documents you have to older versions, and you can create your own baselines in R4J. So later on, you can then compare your issues and your documents to those baselines. Thanks to the change management functionality, R4J allows you to see what changed, who changed it, and what changed. And with impact analysis, you are able to see what impact those changes actually had on your requirements. And lastly, I want to mention that if you create your own templates in R4J, be it a requirement specification that fits your department, and there are other teams and departments that might also need this, you can easily share it with them. The second app I want to talk to you about is X-Ray Test Management. And X-Ray also integrates very smoothly in the Jira user interface. And what is the benefit here for you? It's really a huge benefit to be able to link development and testing together, to bring those together. And this enables you to build quality into your product. For example, if you are on your DevOps, starting off on a DevOps journey, this would be one of the first things I would address. X-Ray also helps you break down the silos that might exist between your developers and your QA members. And if you are already using test automation frameworks such as Selenium, Robot Framework, or JUnit, and many others, you can integrate them seamlessly with X-Ray. And lastly, X-Ray enables you to write behavior-driven development language scenarios, like you might know from Cucumber, inside of Jira. And this helps you to bridge the gap between the business side, so for example, the product owners, and your technical side, the developers. All right, let's get back to our evolution of a typical enterprise Jira system. We started off very basic with our Jira out-of-the-box approach, where we modified where we could and where needed. We found out that we have requirements that cannot be solved by Jira out of the box, so we extended our Jira with marketplace apps. But now we might be in the situation that we have even more specific business logic, and not even one of those marketplace apps that exist can solve it. This could be because you work in a specific industry, or your company has specific business logic, or even just your team has certain needs that cannot be covered. In this case, you can turn to the custom tailored solutions. And for that, you have usually three options. The first one, most lightweight, is Script Runner. Script Runner is actually an app that you install, but inside of Script Runner, you are able to provide your own scripts in Groovy language. And with those scripts, you are able to extend the automation capabilities of Jira or add behaviors to fields. The second option is more heavyweight. You can create your own, develop your own custom Jira app. And this app basically is working exactly like Marketplace app, but the only difference is you don't publish it on the Marketplace. It's dedicated to your Jira instance and only installed in that. And lastly, you can write a service or application which fulfills your needs. For example, analyze Jira data or update Jira data automatically. And that app uses Jira's REST API to modify that data. We have now seen what's possible if we stay inside that Jira ecosystem. But now let's have a look at what's possible when we integrate Jira with Polarion.
So can you hear me now? Okay. Welcome also from my side. I want to give you today a very quick introduction on how Polarion ALM is working and how it can also help to extend functionality that is starting maybe on the Jira world. Polarion itself is a full-blown ALM solution that is really focused on the entire development lifecycle. And it helps really when it comes to collaboration, traceability, and reuse. So before we have a closer look into Polarion, I want to outline some business challenges with a small example. So basically, products are getting smarter. We saw it already, which is definitely a good thing. So if you can imagine what functionalities, for instance, a smartwatch can offer today, I think this is really great. But on the other side, this introduces also additional levels of complexity, for sure, if we think of the development process of these complex products. A modern smartwatch can contain a huge amount of software, but this is not all. All parts of the product have to interact in a perfect way. That means the hardware, the electronics, and also the software need to seamlessly work together. And in addition, when we look at the development process, there's many trends and many challenges that we can see today. For instance, when we look at trends like systems engineering, connected products, smart products, this is also very, very complex at the end of the day to fulfill all the needs in the product development cycle. And I think there is nearly no product where you don't have any norms and regulations that are being applied to the development process, especially in the automotive industry, in the medical world. There is many regulations you have to fulfill, and this brings additional complexity to the development process as well. And last but not least, there's different methods and processes which also give additional guidance and guidelines for the development process. And this is exactly where Polarion ALM is starting. So Polarion is compared to the Jira approach, which is based, I would say, on the plug-in extensions, is a holistic approach where you can have all the ALM functionalities in one solution. So from a functional point of view, Polarion offers everything you need to manage the process, starting at the very beginning with requirements management up to the final test and verification management, including all the steps in between. And during the entire development cycle, with Polarion, you can always rely on a secure collaboration between all the stakeholders that are required to work on the product. You have very advanced reuse functionality. So this is not only reusing a piece of software or maybe some single requirements. So this is more about reusing intelligent components of the system in a very smart way. And also the end-to-end traceability guarantees you from the very beginning up to the development and to the final verification that you always have exactly the information, how information was evolving over time. And Polarion is a very open system, so you can integrate it into, I would say, nearly every engineering system you're having. On our extension portal, we do have already more than 200 integrations ready that you can start to use if you want to connect to other tools in your development lifecycle. And for sure, for any terms or for any requirements in the compliance area, Polarion gives you a very good support to work exactly on those issues. And when we bring now both worlds together, the Jira and the Polarion space, this could look like the following scenario. Maybe Jira lives in the development area, as mentioned. So you have an agile product management or project management there, and you are managing your teams in your different sprints. And now you can add Polarion on top of it with an existing integration that helps to manage all the different disciplines that are additionally required in a very easy platform. So basically, one of the main values out of this approach is that you have the full data traceability when it comes to the questions how the information is evolving in a system, but also in the verification traceability. If you wanna verify that specific tests are testing the right requirement, and that basically what the customer was asking for in a Lastenheft, for instance, is being developed or delivered at the end of the day. So using Polarion here introduces many advantages, especially in the compliance area. You have the full traceability also into the historical perspective. You have a unique data storage where all the information relies. You have a revision-safe linking available between all the information in the system. You have a central reporting engine which helps you to get overview exactly what you are interested in at one single or at one central point. And you can also use predefined audit reports and dashboards that helps you to pass the audits. I mentioned already the smart reuse functionalities is one of the biggest values here. You can also start using systems engineering when it also comes to develop complex products. And you can also connect into the engineering integrations or into other engineering tools when it comes to cross-discipline collaboration. And at the end of the day, I think this is a very efficient and central approach to manage and operate such a system. To give you a quick insight into the Polarion ALM system, we've prepared a small demo with some exemplary use cases in the area of compliance, advanced reuse, and system of systems. And we want to give you a very quick insight into that. So Dennis, it would be up to you.
Yes, thank you. I'll do the sharing. I think it's screen 1. So I hope everybody can see my screen and hear me properly. But I think yes. Okay, thank you. So welcome also from my side. I would like to give you a short overview about both tools to see how a possible interaction or in general how the UI and the system behaves. Currently what we see is the storage container for our interface component. So the idea is to have parts, components, structuring your product, your system into sub areas where all the relevant, I call it containers, contain every relevant information part. So for example, in here for our interface, we have some specifications like a system test specification, also a requirement specification, which shows us in what version are we currently, because it's also possible that we have older version that we need to support or provide into our new project. So also the versioning itself is covered in here as well. In this particular view, we can also see like based on this current version we are on, what has been changed in let's say the latest version. So we can see, okay, maybe some areas parts were deleted out of the specification based on the first version, or we have additional new areas which were provided into our specifications. So that would be like the container view, which is also supported like by workflow management and everything. And if we take a look into the container, into the document itself, we can see in this case the test case specification, which provides us all the test cases. So this happens automatically because when we create a new version, Polarion takes all the relevant documentation for it and creates a so-called branch. So this means I cannot change anything, for example, here. And it also displays like on a frozen and approved parts, in this case, test cases, which were provided in the last version. Also, if we see the requirement specification, we have a mixture of branch and as well new additional parts which we can see, and can also compare the older revisions to each other to see, okay, what exactly has been changed all over the time. And we see, okay, the setup action was provided as a new part in here. Also, a relevant part is especially when we work a lot with specifications, is the approval and the review process. So this means we can provide a approval process within the tool to see, okay, how have we voted on every and certain area, to see as well, okay, somebody is complaining about that the nodes must be defined more granularly, which means, okay, this setup action must be overworked again and yeah, provided into a new review process cycle. Now this panel is in the way. I will go this way. Based on the container, which I've moved back again, we can also see like, how is my coverage based on requirements? Because that's very important to see, okay, how are we regarding of the right side of the V, which Thorsten showed us earlier? How are we performing in this case? And can see that for all the, let's say, general requirements, interface requirements, we have a, or let's say for overall requirements, we have a traceability, not the traceability, coverage of 43%, which means there's still some effort to do. And that's how we can also give impulses within our development cycle. Okay. If we go back to the requirement which I've mentioned earlier, where we say, okay, this is completely new requirement which needs to be developed. So therefore, as we've seen earlier, we want to provide a task to the Jira where we say, okay, this new certain requirement or functionality or whatever we want to call it needs to be developed. So therefore, I would create a task with a traceability link to the requirement itself, which we see in the structure here. And what would happen is that the connector, which is built in Polarion, would transfer this task to the Jira system, as we can see it here, and provide all the relevant data to the colleagues working in the Jira environment, so they can start implementing this functionality, this feature, and they all get the relevant parts. They can also give feedback in terms of comments or workflows. So whatever you wish, this can be provided over the integration. And if we want to take a closer look onto the integration itself, it's really basically creating a mapping where we define, okay, on what can be found on Polarion side and what do we want to provide as well to Jira, or the other way around. And this will be defined in a mapping where we provide, okay, what information do we honestly need in both systems? And once we've defined that, the integration works and will automatically sync or periodically sync the information in both solutions and provide that so all the teams can work properly and have the traceability to each other. And back to Thorsten.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. So I take over the point from here. So to give you at least a quick outlook, besides what we saw so far in the Polarion ALM world, I think it's very important to see also that there is much more beyond the ALM space that we are interested in to connect with in future. One of the most important things is for sure the PLM world. So with Polarion, you will also have the possibility to connect to, I would say, the common PLM systems, and we're still increasing to offer more sophisticated integrations in that area. The variant management is also a very important part where we are still increasing our functionality to manage all the complexity that is coming from the variability in the systems. And the electronic development is also a very important part. And here we are integrating very deeply into the different authoring tools in the electronic world, also to ensure all the impact analysis, the traceability, and also the reusage of information in that direction. And maybe one of the most important topics in general is the simulation part. So in the simulation, not only in the automotive industry when it comes to autonomous driving, but also in many other industries, simulation is a very important part in the product development process. And it makes it also very important to connect the lifecycle information into the simulation world. So to make sure that you are testing and simulating the right requirements, that you are testing the right version of a requirement, and that you, at the end of the day, can verify that the simulation has produced the right results and that you can use it also in a compliance scenario. Artificial intelligence is also a very important part. We're still increasing our functionality, especially here. We're helping our customers to work with very complex requirements definitions. In that case, we're helping to structure the information in the requirements. We're helping to derive single requirements out of a very, I would say, complex Lastenheft or requirement definition, just to make sure that people are much more efficient and quicker when it comes to working with complex requirements. And last but not least is the cybersecurity, where we also need a very close connection when it comes to manage all the requirements that are being introduced by the cybersecurity topics and everything that is happening there, that is being tested, that is being verified, and to manage all the risks that are happening in that world. It will also be very closely connected into the Polarion world. So that overall, I think, is a very unique solution, a very unified solution that helps you in one place to manage many of the challenges in a modern and complex development process. Good. So that's it from my side. So back to you, Torben.
So I hope you can hear me now. Yes. So yeah, thank you very much, Christopher, Thorsten, and Ines, for your insight and especially the demo. It was definitely great to see especially the evolution Christopher showed us from going from this basic approach to a plug-in approach and over to a customized approach, and then going the decision for taking over a pro tool like Polarion, and how we can integrate this, because this is a situation we see a lot when customers are struggling. How can we handle this complexity? And hopefully this came over. So coming over to the Q&A session, as already mentioned, now we have time to answer some of your questions. I see during the session some of you use this chat functions, and we already get some questions. So let me see. So one of the attendees asked, can you say it again? What are the top 3 main benefits of using an integration, and why should I switch to an integration with Polarion? So maybe something, Thorsten, it's something for you.
Okay, so I can take that one. I think that's a very good question. I think maybe it's not that easy to say this is the exact point of time when you switch. I think there's always many drivers that can move you into a direction of using a holistic approach in one system. This could be traceability. Many of our customers are struggling in the reusage of information, and also the compliance topics are very important. And we also see that when it comes to a systems engineering approach, when you have to interact with other disciplines, it's very important to have a close connections also into other engineering tools in the mechanical and also in the electrical world. And I think with a holistic approach from Polarion, you have a very good basis to run on your side, on one side, the most important workflows and values in your area, but you can also then connect to the rest of the engineering part of the product development lifecycle.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, let's have a look. Here's a run. It's going more into the Atlassian world. Are there other add-ons which could be useful in the context of getting an end-to-end traceability in this transition phase? I guess it's something, Christopher, where he mentioned this. He also, and it goes on. Before I move to a Pro LM tool like Polarion, which can be useful in Jira. Sorry, the question was longer than expected. So,
okay.
Christopher?
Yeah, so we saw a few apps that help you. You have to decide for your certain use case which one you want to use. Structure will help you with increasing transparency and give you a better overview to handle many issues, because you can use a hierarchy for them. We talked about requirements for Jira in detail, which helps you with your requirement specification. It gives you end-to-end traceability and helps you with your dependency management. And this would, for example, be the app I would start using if I wanted to get rid of my doors system. And we also saw EasyBI, or I mentioned it at least, which is really powerful for reporting and data analysis. And there's an app that I didn't mention, it's Agile Roadmaps. And this app actually helps you to give a better overview of your whole product roadmap. So your whole organization has a better high-fly picture. And also it gives a better view on how the product evolves over time. And yeah, everyone in your team then knows what is the highest priority to work on and has the same goals.
Okay, thanks for your insight and mentioned points. Okay. Can you give a short overview about the effort of an integration and the combination of the tools? Maybe Dennis is something, or Thorsten, I don't know who wants, but because Dennis, you showed the demo, maybe you can repeat it in a compromised way.
Yes. So technically, the setup for the integration is pretty easy. So it's very fast. You do the mapping and you're ready to go. I think what most effort for this integration is the process you want to see or you want to use. So I think that's where you need to do a lot of thinking for it. But technically, so the integration to set it up, it's very fast and easy.
Okay. And I see here one more question. For us in the development, the topic of data residency is very relevant. I mean, cloud or on-prem, what are the options? Yes, that is always a great question, which we hear every day when it comes to new tools in a company. Cloud versus on-prem, Germany, Europe versus America, China, whatever. How is Polarion positioned there?
Yeah. So the Polarion position there is very easy, so you can use whatever you want. So we're still offering an on-prem version. So if you want to run a system that is hosted within your own company, so that is absolutely possible. On the other side, we're also offering cloud-based solutions, and there you can distinguish where you want to have your data finally stored. If maybe it should be just in Germany, maybe in Europe, but sometimes it also makes sense to distribute the data all over the world if you have teams that are spread all over the world and try to collaborate. So from that perspective, you can start at any point with the solution that fits best to you, and you can move from one solution to another solution at any time. So here we are very open.
Okay, and one question regarding this. What about integration in Polarion? Are they hosted then there as well, or is it depends on the integration? Because we still have some time, so.
So Dennis, do you want to go?
Yes, so sorry, I was searching the unmute button. The integration itself is part of Polarion, of the core product. So it's like not an add-on on anything. It's within the core product. So depending on whatever for example, the Jira system is in a different environment. So of course, then we need like the accessibility, the connectability, but in general, it's like not a problem at all.
Okay. So with a look at the time, and so if you do not have to add anything, so I would say So do you think, say anything, Thorsten, Dennis, Christopher, for example? No. Okay. So I would say to the audience, thank you very much for joining. I hope you feel more confident now and confident about the topic. And hope so you get some useful information for your decision process. As already mentioned, the webinar will be available as a recorded version. Additionally, we offer this year as a slide deck with some screenshots of the demo on the website for download later, so during the next days. If there are any other questions regarding the webinar, you can reach out to us over our website or the contacts on LinkedIn, so we can find everybody on LinkedIn. So at the end, I would say thanks in the name of Siemens and DEMICON for joining this webinar. We wish you have a successful rest of the week and handling your complexity and your processes. And hope to see you at the next webinar of DEMICON and maybe of Polarion again. So see you everybody. Have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.